discretion is advised.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the New to Wrestling Podcast After Dark. This week, I am so excited, girl. We're back on the guest train. It's been a minute since we've had a guest, and to kick off this year with somebody of this caliber, somebody of this magnitude, of this talent, this is very thrilling for me. I'm so excited, and we're gonna really get into it. I have a lot of questions, so without further ado, please welcome Jarett Diaz.
Hey
Yay!
guys,
Thank
I'm so
you.
I'm so
Well,
happy to be here.
great.
Kelsey, Xavier, I've been looking forward to this for a few weeks, and I'm ready. I'm ready to chat about whatever you guys want to talk about.
Oh,
Perfect.
fabulous. Because I have a lot of questions and I hope you're ready. But I think the first thing I know that you've done interviews in the past, you've been in the wrestling game, I believe a little over 5 years,
Yeah, just over 6 years,
just over 6 years.
Yeah,
Okay.
you're right on the money.
Okay. So there's obviously you've done plenty of interviews, you've done plenty of promos, you've done plenty of wrestling. But something I'm very curious about, because you can correct me if I'm wrong, I believe you really started getting into wrestling because of an assistant English teacher at summer school.
Ooh, somebody does deep dives.
I
Somebody does
really
Oh, we
research.
do our research. We try.
I
I
love
love to
that.
do my
I
research,
love
girl.
that. Incredible. Okay, so yeah, do you want me to tell the story?
Yes,
Yeah, go for
if
it.
Do you
you
want me to
would,
start?
I would love to hear the story.
So I was in summer school for English, which is stupid because I was a really solid English student. But I don't need to get into the details as to why. It was like eighth grade, but I was in summer school, and one of the football coaches for the varsity team that I had just met, coming into high school, as the middle school football team would often practice with the high school leading into their graduation. And he was a nice guy as a Coach Ypsilantis, Coach Pont, and he was also an English teacher, and he was the English teacher for summer school. However,
Mhm.
he initially, before transitioning to teaching, was in entertainment, and he was a writer at Nickelodeon for a little while, and then ended up the, I think, assistant writer for SmackDown, and was a sharing the room with guys like Paul Heyman and Gabe Sapolsky and Brian Gerwitz and all of
That's
these
crazy.
like
That's insane.
riches of wrestling knowledge between, I think it was 2005 or 6 to 2009. So a few strong years there in the Taker, Batista, Edge
Yeah.
of SmackDown.
Yes.
It's like,
I
what is
was a
this? The
fan.
SmackDown 6 era, that whole thing?
This was like just after SmackDown 6. SmackDown is fully established, and now it is a prime show for stars to be on. Um, I was a fan from when I was 10 years old. I've told this story before, but I had a classmate that was playing SmackDown vs. Raw on a PSP. Asked him what it is. He told me
Damn.
what it is. He's like, "Yo, it's Monday Night Raw. You gotta watch it tonight." I get to stay up an extra 15 minutes past bedtime because I'm at 9 p.m. on USA Network, and I go to check it out, and the first thing I turn on is Jeff Hardy doing a dive, and I'm hooked. It's done.
Mm.
I'm bought in. Um,
Amen.
but I stayed a fan. I stayed a fan from 10, 11, 12, 13. I'm now 13 years old, and I'm in summer school, and he asks me, he's like, "Hey, you're a wrestling fan, right? Check this out. Next week, I'll bring this USB from when I used to work at WWE."
Which is
I'm like, "Oh my God, what's in it? Like, what's on this USB?" He goes,
Right.
"I'll show you next week." So it was like Friday or Thursday. So I gotta wait until, Monday to come around, and he plugs in this USB into his computer. And it's just folders and folders of scripts, of full show rundowns, uh,
Oh my God.
match cards, promo scripts, segment ideas, everything.
That's crazy.
And
What a
that was
treasure
the
trove.
first. It was amazing. It was like, oh, MVP gets in the ring. He says about blah 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 blah. In comes Finley to cut him off. Blah 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 blah. Like it was in detail, and not to pull the curtain too far back, but I've already done it. Right?
It's
It
right.
is a
WWE is going to do it
scripted
anyway. So
script. I know, which is really cool. I
Very
think
cool.
I think so.
personally, it's a scripted television show, so it's just that. All the segments are timed out. They're scripted out. It has a proper in, a proper out. And he was explaining to me how these shows get produced. Now,
Mm.
I couldn't grasp all of it at that young age, but what it did really tell me and I guess make it really clear was that this is a job. This is just an adult job that any person can have. So
Mm,
I guess it made it really tangible to be a part of WWE in some aspect. And it doesn't have to just be as a wrestler, but there are writers and uh, staff and crew that all surround the talent in the ring.
mm.
Um, and I was able to see that all the way through because when I got to college and I went to Full Sail University specifically to pursue a position with them because of their partnership with NXT, and I was able to gain internship at the Performance Center, where I was a broadcast talent intern, where I was on the Florida Loop shows, I was practicing commentary with like Tom Phillips and Byron Saxton, and I'm backstage at NXT tapings, and it's this full experience that I got to live out, all while learning to wrestle at the same time.
That
Uh,
is so crazy.
yeah, that's so cool. Well, I was gonna say, because we were talking about like Full Sail and like so they really do like kind of give you like a wrestling crash course. Like it felt like it was just like this was like the only place in the world that was just like, how do you do wrestling? Wrestling 101, like as far as like a production like
And like a
standpoint, like this is
complete
the only
Yeah,
picture.
place that
a
that was a
hundred
thing.
percent. And what's cool about Full Sail is, if at the time when they were still doing TV tapings before they went live and before they had the PC functioning as their home for NXT, they were at Full Sail Live, which is their event space at the school. And students were the ushers, students were working the merch tables, students were opening and shutting the doors, they were running the ticket booths. Like it was a student production with a $1 billion
Wow.
budget.
Right.
And the only people that were working with WWE, like for WWE, were the ones backstage. But there was so much integration between the school and the company that I really got hands-on experience even before I started the internship by just being at the school, by just attending a show.
Yeah. That is so cool. And do you think that, just out of curiosity, because you ended up getting a sports broadcasting degree,
Yeah.
right?
So I finished my
So,
degree through after the internship.
okay, amazing. Do you think that coming you kind of came into wrestling, I want to say almost from like the back end, like the production end, it feels like. Do you think that kind of influenced how you got into wrestling like as a performer? Like do you think that there was like influence there, or like it helped you understand what it meant to be a performer differently?
Yeah, yeah, good question. So coming from working with WWE in the back was a really how do I say this? It was a very unique experience because I wasn't nearly an experienced enough wrestler to really absorb everything that I could have learned there. That's
Mm,
to no one's fault. I was only a year into training and had maybe just started having matches when I started the internship there. So I was still so young, I was still so green in my experience that like the wealth of knowledge that was there for me, I could only absorb 20, 30% of it. But even
right.
then, it helped me learn at double speed at wrestling school because at wrestling school, a lot of places don't teach wrestling for TV. But I'm at
Mm,
WWE TV and allowed to ask these questions to a guy like Dijak and Keith Lee and Adam Cole, who are literally just right
right.
there to ask.
That's
And
crazy.
I wish I wish I got that internship now because I would know exactly what I needed to ask and exactly how to, up my
Mm,
game in that way. But the experience that I got on the back end, it definitely helped my development from an early stage, and it definitely helped me with what not to do and not make a lot of the mistakes that a
mm,
lot of early wrestlers, young indie wrestlers can make. Uh,
mm.
so yeah, like wrestling for television was part of my development, which you don't normally get.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah, that's
Very
cool. And
interesting.
that's very like interesting because in the way that like I've always described Kelsey to like or described wrestling to Kelsey is that it is kind of like the last like theater in the round like that exists. It is like
100%. 100%.
and it's very cool to kind of see the inside of like because you spend a lot of time on the like independent circuit, does that like having that background, do you feel like that helped you like get ahead faster?
Yeah, I was able to, I mean, I was able to have these experiences at big indies and even like AEW television. I would say from a place of inexperience. Like I was able to
Mm,
do certain things, not because I had tenure in independent wrestling, not because I had built this long resume, but because of the specific things that were on that resume. Um, I would say as well, my first job out of college with the sports broadcasting degree was again at WWE. I was editing for NXT UK, and I was
crazy.
able to work from Stanford in the desk. But even though UK was being produced on the other side of the world, was able to start building relationships with Jim Smallman, who is an NXT producer, and other talent at NXT UK whose content I was cutting and editing, and now I have those relationships now that help me get out to the UK and like
Hmm.
wrestle out there. But I'm also able to hit up an Axiom or an
Mm,
Aaliyah James and just say, hey, like, can you watch this?
right.
Tegan Knox is a friend, and I can say, hey, I had some thoughts on this. Would you mind giving me some feedback? And it's helpful because not everybody has those avenues. Not everybody has those, I don't say connections because it's not like they're getting me a job, but it's
Right.
just the ability to improve what I do based on where I want to be and not just trying to be better in the sense of being better, actually doing what they're looking for.
Mm.
And okay, so I have a follow-up question. So WWE now is doing like WWE ID and Evolve and where they're kind of like dipping their toe like into the independent scene and kind of like finding where they're gonna find people.
Sure.
Does um is what was that like kind of when that was like announced in in the indie scene, like what was the reaction to that, or at least where you were, like what was your reaction to
Yeah, yeah,
kind
yeah.
of the program, and is that something that's like a goal, or is that just something like it'll happen if it happens?
Good question. Layered.
Sorry.
So no, it's okay. My experience with WWE scouting and with talent, basically personnel at WWE,
Mm.
you don't get what you're asked for, what you ask for, you get what they want to give you. And so for me
Mm.
to work backwards on your question, it's not a goal to be a part of the WWE ID program or necessarily to be in Evolve, but it is absolutely a goal to be on WWE's radar in a major way. I would say in my fortunate experience that I've had really quality relationships and conversations with guys like Gabe Sapolsky and other WWE talent and personnel. But that's not one specific thing that I'm trying to get. Ultimately, I'm just trying to grow my career and my brand and continue to get better and bigger. Uh, and whatever opportunities come along the way, I'm happy to take them. My reaction to the program as a whole, I think it's excellent. I think it's fantastic. There are a lot of things about independent wrestling that I like and that are really beautiful, and that the independent wrestlers really work hard and should work hard to protect.
Mm.
And then there are things that WWE stepping in and just letting their presence be known on the independents is really beneficial to what we do.
Right.
Having a show like WWE ID tournament in Vegas feature non-ID talent like Bodie Young Prodigy, like Brittany Brooks, like
Mm.
it's really big. It's really big for the independent community, not just for those individuals, but for people who haven't seen their products for the first time, who are just WWE fans, but all of a sudden now WWE is dipping their toes in the independence. Okay, cool. We're gonna get some new eyes. Let's make sure that we're on our P's and Q's. Let's make sure that we dot our I's and cross our T's and make sure that like we give those new fans a new experience and bring them over.
Mm. Yes.
I
I
love
think
that.
that's such a great point. I was
Yeah.
going to say that in a previous interview, I believe it was with Tony from is it Toned In
Toned in.
Entertainment?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
What a great guy, first of all. I've never spoken
What
to him, but I was watching some of his episodes and I was like, wow, this guy's great. So shout out to Tony. But I believe you said in the interview, in terms of like he had asked you like what's next in your career, and you had said, I'm just trying to cross some names off my list, like people I
Mhm.
want to have good matches with, people I think I would have good chemistry with.
Yeah.
Who are some of the names on your list that you're looking forward to crossing off, or is that still a goal of yours? I'm just
So it's
curious.
definitely still a goal of mine because all I want to do, and I was just talking about this a couple of days ago, is that I want to wrestle people who I know I'm going to get better from, right? Like I don't want to
Mm,
step into the ring uh and then leave without getting at least 1% better. So wrestling
mm.
guys that I know are at that level or have been to the dance, that's a real, always permanent goal of mine. Um, a couple of names that I've been able to scratch off, which I'm super excited about. I wrestled Speedball Mike Bailey
Oh,
a little while back. I
yeah.
wrestled O'Shea Edwards in one-on-one late, yeah, last year, which was fantastic. And I was so excited to do that, not just because he's a big, burly, experienced, strong, smart son of a bitch, but he's also like just one of the best people that I know and a guy that I love to travel with, whether it be Germany or England or whatever. I wrestled Tony Deppen a couple of days ago, which was really exciting. He's
Wow.
fantastic. Kelsey, if you haven't seen Tony Deppen's stuff, definitely go look it up.
I will.
I'm talking PWG, I'm talking international stuff. He is a Ring of Honor guy and absolutely excellent. LSG is another guy that I got to wrestle that is a Ring of Honor guy. Cheeseburger's another guy. Like there are these guys that I've looked up to along the indie journey who are also on that kind of on that same journey
Yeah.
that I'm chasing up the ladder. And then there are guys like Dijak, Mustafa Ali, Zilla Fatu, Matt Cardona, names that I want to get in the ring with. Flip Gordon is a friend, but he moved his damn self to Mexico, and I can't get him back
Mm,
up here to wrestle me.
I hate when that happens.
There's a lot of really good guys that I want to get in the ring with, and I want to learn from.
Mm.
So yeah, great pull from that Tony interview because that was definitely a question that I'm never gonna get away from. It's always a goal.
Yeah, love that. And I think well, you also had said just to like bring it into the fold, you'd also said you'd wrestled Robert Martyr in that interview, who we have interviewed previously.
Yeah, my
What a
guy's in
great
Japan
guy.
right now, man.
I know. I'm so happy for him.
I know
What a
he's
cool guy.
killing it in Japan. I was on Twitter earlier and I was like, oh, there he goes. Look at him.
There
I'm
he
so proud
goes.
of him. That's awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah, and I love when those like little moments like worlds collide, because we were watching the matches that you had sent us, and I was like, "Oh my God, there's a match between him and Robert Martyr that is so cool." And I love
yeah.
like seeing the people come
That's a
together.
dude that like I'm so proud of where he's at now. We started around the same time in Florida, and I remember like not to put his business out there, but so many people just telling him, "Hey, you can't do this. You can't do that. You'll never be this. You'll never be that." And watching him just flip all of those people off with not with words, not with actions, but just what he continues to go do on his own is
Right.
Hmm.
awesome to see.
Love that guy.
And I'm 1-0 against him, and I don't ever want to wrestle him again. I'm keeping
Just
that
hold on to
one.
that one. That's
Robert
like,
Martyr, the gauntlet has been thrown, girl. It's
Martyr,
up to
nah,
you.
Martyr, the gauntlet's not been thrown. Gauntlet is somewhere else. Martyr, stay over there in
I've
Japan.
never
Don't come
even heard
back to
of a
fight me.
gauntlet. Who is that? I don't
I
even know
love
what that is.
I love that energy. That's the same energy. My uncle is he married into a Puerto Rican family. He's a white man. He beat my grandfather one time at Domino's, has
Yeah.
never played again.
Cool,
Mm,
and never again,
Never
and
Never
again.
never again.
again.
Never again. I was like,
Oh
Funny.
my
retire on
God.
top.
And that's genius. Something else I wanted to ask, which kind of, or just something I want to say that I admire about how you perceive wrestling. You had said this also previously, is that you view wrestling like a variety show. And this kind of segues back into what we were talking about before, where it's like there's a whole, like wrestling as a whole is a lot of moving parts. And I think the question you were asked was like, is it hard as someone who is doing championship level matches in the independents or like doing main events, going to do kind of like jobs for like AEW Dark? And is that hard? And you were like, no, because it's at the end of the day, it's a variety show. And I'm like, it to me, what I'm trying to say is that I feel like even in just the way that you view wrestling and the way that you talk about it, you're like a learning wrestler. Does that make sense? Like you can correct me if I'm wrong, but like it feels like you're always like trying to learn from other people. You always want to take constructive criticism. You're always trying to help other people learn. Like you seem like a great like teaching and learning kind of fluid wrestler in that way. Does that make sense?
I mean, if it makes sense to you, thank you. Um, I've taken the approach to wrestling that I took in football, and that football
Mm,
approach took me all the way into playing in college, which that just being put yourself in a room where people are better than you and shut your mouth. Uh,
mm.
I was very lucky. I had a very supportive dad with football that was, travel to Oklahoma, Mississippi, Indiana, Florida, Georgia, Alabama, fly down to Louisiana to the Manning Quarterback Academy and just go learn. Um, so I did, and that took me as far as it did. And now with wrestling, it's take the same approach. Like be a sponge, try to learn as much as you can, as fast as you can. And if you don't know something, be okay with it and then learn it.
Right.
Mm.
At the same time, like you said, with teaching, like there are people behind me, there are people that are, you know, just not lower than me, but they're younger on this journey. They haven't learned as much as I have. They haven't been fortunate enough to be in some of the places and some of the rooms that I've been in.
Mm.
So if I'm able to pass along even one thing that I know that's going to help somebody out, I want to do it. I have these two best friends in wrestling, Jay Sky, Richard Adonis. We all started pretty, in the same circle at the same time. And I have this phrase, and it sticks more than anything with the three of us, is if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together.
Right.
Mm. Oh, I love that.
Yeah, it's one of my like it's like an old proverb. It's good. I like
Yeah.
that.
Love
Yeah.
that. Since you
So
mentioned your dad, do you mind if I
yeah,
ask you, because a lot of people ask you about your tattoo, your
yeah.
Superman tattoo, which I was like, I know I that Jarrett and I could be friends because you were like, well, actually it's the Kryptonian symbol for hope, but sure. And I was like, and that's my
Oh
friend
no, did I give
because
nerd? Did I give really big
I
nerd
It's
energy?
all
Oh
right.
no.
You're in good
I think I'm in a
company.
you're
safe
in
place
good,
for us. Yeah.
very good, safe space, safe space. But I was like, okay, period. But
Actually, I just dug these out. I have some old tattoo
Yes.
oh,
That's
comics
awesome.
love,
lying around.
love
Yeah.
that. And I think, yeah, I love that. But I'm so curious, and it's like really none of my business. But what is it your dad does? Because
So
you were
my
he owned, I know it's like he owns a gym or something, but I'm
Yeah,
so
so my
curious.
dad recently retired and sold the gym, which is
Oh,
fantastic.
Hey,
God
congrats.
bless.
But
Good for him.
he ran his own personal training business for uh, athletes as young as 5 or 6 years old
Oh,
through,
wow.
high school, college, pro athletes, and then, people in their elder state of life, 60, 70, whatever, who just want to be a little more active, a little bit more loose, want to be able to play with their kids, their grandkids, whatever. But it's very high impact, very high function for those like younger groups, high school, college, pros, and just a super physical guy. He's 63, he just turned, and
Wow.
he sold the business at 61 that he ran from like 46. So he really was just an athlete. And before that, he was a NYPD homicide detective,
Oh
Oh,
wow.
homicide,
wow.
narcotics, uh, joint robbery. Yeah, very highly decorated detective and football player for the NYPD. And then
Wow.
moved on to coaching and then personal training.
Oh wow.
Wow. God bless. Shout out to Papa Diaz. I mean, that's
Yeah,
like really cool.
that's the man. I spoke to him earlier today. He actually sent me this photo of him as a cop from '91, which is really cool to see
Wow.
because how often can you just dig up family old photos like that?
And I love stuff like that.
Yeah, it's cool.
I also the Superman tattoo, for those of you who are not familiar, I and again, please correct me if I'm wrong. I did a little, like probably way too much digging today. But you got it to match your dad's, which is why I brought it up, the Superman tattoo,
Yeah.
which I
He has it on the back of his neck.
oh, I love that.
Hmm.
And like jumping to something else just because I'm curious about this too. You keep a record, a handwritten record of all the matches you've ever been in. Is that correct?
I did.
You
Um,
did.
so this is book one, and it's a little bit tattered. It's a little bit ripped up. But unfortunately, last August, I had that book in my suitcase, and that suitcase with my wrestling gear in it was stolen out of my car. So that
Ah,
book,
brutal.
I
What?
think that book was like 2.5 more years of all of my matches and everything. And yeah, they jacked my stuff. So
Damn.
I couldn't I couldn't find a way to get online and get every single match that I've ever had back.
Right.
So I
Mm,
sadly just gave up on it,
I
which
get that.
breaks my heart.
If
Thanks for bringing it up.
Sorry. Yeah, trigger warning. So sorry for the trauma. But also, if whoever stole that is listening, I'm willing to ransom for it.
Just give me my book back, man. I actually said this online. I was like, I don't care about the gear. It's not going to fit you anyway. I just want my book. I just want my book, man. You know.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah,
I
but I
hate
will say
that.
like that it meant a lot to me specifically because I had this football career, one could say. And when I came into wrestling very early on, one of my trainers told me, he's like, I wish I had kept a record of what I had done. Cage match only has so much, blah, 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 blah.
Mm,
All right, well, let me start off the bat and just write down everything. Um, so it was very saddening to have lost the last few years of that.
that sucks. I'm so sorry to bring it up. I
I
was,
forgive you because you did so much research.
thank you. Thank you. And then random question, how is your shooting star press coming along?
I didn't even try it once. I didn't even
That's
try.
amazing.
No, I learned some other things. Okay. I practiced
Period.
some other things. Uh I went down to Florida to Pete Dunne's school and I did
Okay.
something with them, some ground stuff, some grappling stuff, some tighten some things that I should be better at. But I did not once try the shooting star.
There's still
Maybe
time.
look, I got time.
You have
I
Yeah.
like
plenty of
to jump. I'm
time.
not any less, agile. Maybe I'll try.
Mobile, agile, hostile. You got this. The reason I brought it up because right now in the era of wrestling that we're at is like Mark Miro is around.
Yeah.
And that shooting star press just turns me out. I just think it's
Kelsey's
so
just trying to bring up things that make me sad, I think. In
I'm just trying to
the
hurt your
book I don't
feelings.
have and the move I can't do. Oh my goodness.
I'm really just trying to bring you
Brutal,
down.
Kelsey, brutal.
I'm
Yeah,
as
I thought
just
this was a friendly interview.
I am so sorry. Guess you better prepare as well as me next time.
I'll tell you what. I'll tell you what. Uh, you recommend another move for me to learn, and I'll see what I can do.
Ooh. On
Yeah.
the spot right now? Have
No,
to think
take
of
your time. I'll see you guys in a
Oh,
couple of
I'll
weeks.
tell you. Yeah, I'm gonna
Yeah.
think about this. Ooh, okay, challenge
And she will
accepted.
be thinking about this.
And that gauntlet I will pick up.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Love that. Okay, my other sorry, Xavier, am I like
No,
steamrolling
no, you're
you?
totally fine. You're
Because I'm
good.
like ba ba da ba.
No,
So
I knew this. I knew this. I know you. You're good.
I'm
okay.
assuming you have some stuff loaded up whenever
Oh yeah,
she's.
yeah, yeah, no, we're good.
Yeah,
I'm more
that's
of the
cool.
we'll talk about the matches.
That's
Yeah,
cool.
no, I'm about like all the
Kelsey wants to
tea.
know the character, the person. I'm
Correct.
I
with
do. I do.
You get
That's cool.
the full circle
The full
here.
picture. And that's why we're a great team. But I also you had
Agreed.
said that Cody Rhodes was inspiration for you
Yeah.
previously. And I think that it's really interesting because in a lot of like promos and a lot of interviews, you like because also right now you're the face of the franchise, right? Like that is your monkey or like that's your thing.
Mhm.
Um, and you say a lot about like wanting to be the guy. Like I want to be the guy in for an organization. And I'm just wondering what being the guy in an organization means to you. Like what does that mean?
Yeah, absolutely. I like to think that the face of the franchise is more than a moniker or a nickname, and it's really something that I try to embody. So, doing this, for example, right? Being sent out for media, doing podcasts, meet and greets, charity events, community events, all of which I've done for various companies along the way. Uh, I can just name one off the bat. Like We Are Wrestling is my one of my favorite promotions to ever work for, and it has nothing to do with, has a little to do with the matches, but more than anything, it has to do with my relationship with that promoter and his willingness to trust that I can represent his company. So going to the art events at the elementary schools here in the Bronx, doing the interviews, representing the company, representing the championship that I'm gunning for against Dan Maff over and over again. Like
Hmm.
I may not have the title, but I'm wanting to put the company on my back and wear the shirt in England and do the promo and
Mm,
whatever, effectively whatever the company needs at that moment, I want to be that first call. And I
mm,
think that's important to me because I did grow up a quarterback, and I do feel like a leader. And aside from that, my biggest example, as I brought him up earlier, my dad, who was a pillar in his community and a police officer and the captain of that football team with the police team, and like the guy they put up front and center for the post 9/11 football game because he was the face of that organization. And
Mm.
that's something
mm,
that I want to carry, and it's something that I take very seriously. So as I continue to like pursue higher and more prominent independent companies, it doesn't it doesn't weigh lightly on me that the smaller ones that I've wrestled for start to look at me like that person even a little bit.
mm. Wow, I
Gotcha.
love that.
That's
And
awesome.
the reason I brought up Cody Rhodes also is because we were just talking about this in our regular show where it's like, he is so good in the chase because I was very upset that he lost to John Cena at WrestleMania. Very upsetting for
But
me.
I love Cody in the chase. I like Cody doing his
Cody in
thing.
the
I like
chase.
him
Yeah.
like his back's against the wall. He's pissed off about something and he's just gonna let loose. I love the
Can
Yes.
chase.
I just say that I agree with both of you?
Mhm.
Thank
I
you.
think both of those standpoints have validity. I grew up a John Cena fanatic. I stood in line
Mm,
at the GNC in Manhattan when I was 9 to go meet the guy,
wow.
and I flew uh, 2 hours and change to Georgia to do a Cody Rhodes seminar before I was even fully trained. Like
Wow.
I ride for them both, but if I'm giving my personal opinion, Cody on
Mm,
the chase, there's nobody better. Right
yeah.
now, there's nobody better.
Yeah, it's so true. And so one of the matches you sent us was your hometown match.
Oh yeah.
And spoiler alert, you do not come out on top. But
Yeah,
I was like, I feel like there is that energy that you have, like just watching, your matches and listening to your promos and stuff. I was like, I feel like you have that same energy of like being good in the chase. It's like I lost in my hometown, but like I'm going to just keep coming
that's
back.
her way
Like,
of saying she was happy to see me lose, I think.
no, no,
She's
how
brutal.
dare you? Although I will say what a great heel he
Oh my
is.
God.
Oh
Oh
yeah,
No,
my,
that's
absolute
oh,
demon.
been
that
hurting my
guy.
soul. And also we are from New Jersey. So I was
Right.
like,
Mhm.
oh no. I
And
was
he
like, this
represents
can't,
you guys. Yeah.
I was like, this cannot be our representative. Like we have to throw this out. This is hurting my
What's
credit.
great about Dan Maff is that he is every bit of the badass that people fear in the ring. He is strong, he is tough, he's grizzled in a
He's
way because he has been around for such a long time, but he hasn't really lost a step. He's only gotten just rougher.
I feel
Oh,
like his last role was the Revenant. He was the bear. Like
He
that's
was
literally
there,
what
yeah,
I feel
just
like the
man.
last time I
mauling
saw
people.
him.
Which is
Yeah,
funny because where we're at in the show, like Vader's still around. I like in
Mm,
my Kelsey compared him to like watching Vader and that like
are you watching wrestling chronologically?
yeah,
yes,
we're watching Monday Night Raw chronologically.
That's insane.
Dude, I
Not
know.
because it's like
completely.
not good, but
But
that's
it's a
just
lot.
it's a massive undertaking.
Yeah.
It certainly is.
Yeah, and then we also cover like Evolve. We
Dang.
started covering because it just came out, and then we do this show, which is interviews, and we watch
Yeah,
documentaries.
Yeah.
This is my bread and
fully
butter, though.
dove in.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we really full 2 feet and the rest of the body too, which just dove right
Yeah.
into the deep end. But yeah, I mean, I was saying like watching that match is like I feel like he's one of those like where he's not going to intentionally hurt you, but you feel those bumps like when he is.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
he's I I will share this, and again, not to pull the curtain back too far one,
Right, right.
but after the match, I get to the back, and not 2 minutes later, my mother comes bursting through the door, looking not to see if I was okay,
No, for
looking for
him.
Dan Maff
Oh my, and that's my
Yep.
girl.
because because
I know that energy.
she
I love that
gets
energy.
she gets what wrestling is. Like she
Right.
gets what I do, and she still did not trust that I was okay. She was looking for that man. She
She
was
was
looking
like,
for a scalp is what she was looking for.
That's
oh, and
amazing.
I bet she could take him.
My I will say this, I've never seen Dan Maff apologize to anybody except my mother.
I
Oh
love
my,
that.
I love that. Is she still like a little fearful of you in the
Oh
ring when
yeah,
she
she watches
watches?
through her hands
Oh,
almost at all times. Short story, my grandmother, whose own mother was a huge wrestling fan. My great grandmother used to watch wrestling in Puerto Rico all the time and do exactly what she was supposed to do. Cheer the good guys, boo the bad guys without fail.
mm-hmm.
So my grandmother, when she was younger, used to watch with her sometimes, and she transitioned more into like boxing. My grandmother loves boxing, but would
Wow.
watch that between her fingers. But my mom, same as her mother, would watch wrestling with her grandmother, my great grandmother, and she hated it because it was violent. It was grimy. It was just men throwing each other around.
Hmm.
She would love it if I just started playing piano instead. Just stop with
Anything
this.
else?
But despite that, she's still able to support and come to
That's
shows when she
sweet.
can and just not be able to breathe the whole time
Oh my God. What
until
a
until
saint.
she sees me afterwards. It's so funny. I'll watch a match back with her that I had like 2 weeks prior sitting on the couch, and she'll still be squeamish and I'm sitting right next to her. I'm like,
Right.
Mom, I'm
You're like, girl, I'm
right
fine.
here. I'm good. I got this little bruise and I'm good.
That's
And
Oh
she
my
amazing.
just
God.
is halfway to a heart attack.
Oh my
What
God.
was that experience like as far as like going for a world title in front of your like hometown? Because you start
Mm.
wrestling where you start, and then to have that kind of like full circle
Full
moment,
circle.
like what was that?
Oh man, a dream. You could, if you watch it back during Dan Moff's, not Moff, sorry, during the ring announcers, championship announcements,
Hmm.
they cut to me, but then they cut away, and they're doing a lot. I remember looking to the crowd right before they started saying my name. I don't know if it shows on the broadcast camera, but I remember looking to the crowd and seeing my cousin, my aunt, my grandmother, and my mom. And my dad was over there front row. And then my family's over here. And I look to my family and I'm like holding back tears
Mm.
Oh.
because I have a huge family. Puerto Rican big, you get
Yeah,
it.
I get it.
And I've had a lot of football games in my day, and I've had some local matches that have been cool, but I've never felt that kind of support before.
Mhm.
And so
Mm.
now to have my group of family here, 20 people, 30 people, doing what everybody else is doing in that whole building. I had that whole building behind me
Right.
because
Yeah.
because for that night, they were all my family.
Mm.
Tears, goosebumps, all of the
Oh.
above. Gotta hold him back because I gotta go do my job. I gotta go fight this bear, this
Oh my
behemoth
God.
of a man.
Swear.
And if you recall, as soon as the bell rings, I'm full of energy. I'm going right for
Right.
him because I
Yep.
had to get it out some way.
Yeah. Oh my
And
God. Yeah.
I wish I could explain the joy. But that's the best that I can do at it.
That's amazing. That and
Yeah.
it's cool, and it's very because again I understand the Puerto Rican family thing. It is very like it takes a village. So when like one of the village you like has the opportunity to like really shine, like some way somehow they show up. They show up,
Yeah,
and like it is.
yeah,
And that in and of itself is like a full circle moment because you're just like they're there
100%.
like, with the little supports all the way. The you know
Mhm.
the nice comment that's like okay I can do this another day. So
Yeah,
like when it's
yeah.
like now
So
you
then,
get
so
to
then
actually be
having it
like,
on what feels like a big stage,
right.
what feels like a big moment, it's like this is all that all that support that I wanted. It's right there. It's right there
Mhm.
for me.
I love
Right.
that. And you
Um,
got to be a face in that, obviously.
And
So,
I love being a babyface at home because I hate trying to turn the crowd that I know doesn't want to root. Like it's different when I'm in like Maryland and they're cheering for me because I did a cool move. I can be a dick and they'll know what I'm
Right.
doing.
Yeah, yeah.
But at home, I don't want to be anything but just loving. I just don't I don't want to make my people hate me. They're my people.
Of
Right.
And they don't want
course.
to hate me.
Right.
And I love that. Thank God.
I
Yeah.
want to
The
ask
people are
about like
typically the opposite.
what's the psychology of like going into somebody like a match against like Dan Maff versus going into some like against somebody who's kind of like Rich Swann, where you guys are kind of more on the same like wavelength athletically versus like
Sure,
going
sure,
into
sure.
somebody where you're like, I'm gonna have to throw myself against this wall for like 10 minutes.
Yeah, 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 yeah. So physically it's more demanding to have that moth match because I know that not only am I exerting myself, but I also have to take this damage, right? So like
Mm,
psychologically, it's like, all right, like I have to pace myself, I have to pick my moments to really show or to really sell or to really this or to really that, because I know that that's going to be grueling in a very physical way. The Swan match, albeit a little bit shorter than the Moth match, um, was more mentally demanding because I I keep saying it, but I'm gonna pull the curtain back again. What Swan was doing what we call a double shot that day, which means that he wrestled somewhere else and then got in the car and came to wrestle me.
oh my God.
So he had wrestled like an hour away, and then shot over and wrestled me in the main event at CCW. We're not in the same building, which means we don't have anything planned. We don't have anything called. And he gets there 20 minutes before we're about to go on. So it's mentally demanding because I had put together a little structure while he was away so that because I had the time. But then
Mm.
he comes in, all right, I'm going to change this. I'm going to add this. I'm going to add this. I'm going to change this. I'm going to take this away. I'm going to throw this in. Then we're going to do this, and this. And I got to take that all the way into the ring in 10 minutes.
Right.
That's the demanding part. Physically, it's just having the cardio, it's being in shape. To wrestle a guy like Swan, I'm not going to say it doesn't hurt because it all hurts, but it's pretty obvious here who hurts more
Right.
between Dan Maff and Swan, right? Not trying to call Swan a bitch or
Of
nothing,
course, of
but
course.
it's Dan Maff. So
Right.
the difference really is the psychological weight of like all of the spots and all of the moments and how much we had to do with very little to prep and little time to really commit it to memory.
And do you
That's
find those, sorry, Kelsey, do you
no, go
find
ahead.
those instances are like where the learning happens the most, like for
Yeah,
you? Like, gotcha.
100%. Wrestling a guy like Swan is such a learning experience. Like I learned putting the match together with Moff, but we had as much time as we needed to put that together. Putting
Mm,
stuff together with Swan doesn't give me a chance to ask why or to overthink until after the fact, which puts
mm,
me in a spot where like, all right, I'm just going to be in the moment. And sometimes being in the moment is exactly what you need to be doing in wrestling. It's like if you have something planned and the crowd's not here for it, if they're not ready for it, you don't rush to do it anyway. You give them a moment, you pat,
mm.
build a little bit, and
Hmm.
now they're ready. Let's go do the thing. And
Wow.
that way it pays off better. Uh, so again, not having all of this time to plan and overthink and overcomplicate. We have this saying in wrestling, it's like, who makes wrestling hard? It's the wrestlers. Because with all this time to
Mm.
overthink and overdo, instead of just sometimes just being in the moment, feeling it.
Right.
And
Wow.
and then when we're ready, we'll get along to what we have planned.
That
That's
is
awesome.
crazy. As someone who is new to wrestling, that was like the biggest thing that like probably the biggest shock for me was like there's a lot of it is improvised. I was like,
Yeah.
what?
I
I
was
was
like,
like,
Yeah. You build in
improvised.
these gaps to just breathe and to just listen.
It is like to me the most insane athletic mental kind of sport like I just cannot eat like the storytelling you have to do with body language, with moves, with like very little verbal cues, and it's mostly improvised even though you know the outcome. It is like the most insane thing to me. Like I'm like I are you guys aware? Like I know like the wrestlers I'm like, I know the wrestlers, like to them, this is just like, yeah, we improvise, we feel
This
it
is what we
out.
do. Yeah.
It's crazy to me. and in the best way, like
Yeah.
respectfully. I cannot even fathom it.
Thank you. I mean, on behalf of wrestlers as a whole, I think what we don't acknowledge is like how limited this skill set is replicated outside of wrestling. What we
Mm,
have to do as athletes, actors, stunt folks, improvisers, storytellers, all the above.
yes.
Uh, how many positions can you be in life where you have to exercise all of these skills at once and you get one take to do it?
Right.
Um,
My God,
Right.
it's so
Interestingly
crazy.
enough, I had this
Insane.
match on Sunday against Tony Deppen, who, like I said, is awesome. And we had 12, and we only called the back five. So the first half of the match was just going. And here's something, I don't know if you're familiar, Kelsey, you might be, Xavier, but typically, traditionally, the heel will pace the match, control the match.
Yes.
So there you go. So in this position where Tony is the babyface and I'm the heel, but Tony's been wrestling for 17 years, 18 years, and I've
Wow.
been wrestling for 6. So now I'm in a position where, like, all right, I'm gonna defer to him, but I still have to lead the way, um, while also listening to the crowd. So it's this little juggling act that I'm doing where it's like, all right, I know what he has planned for his moment of shine, but we have no idea when we're going to go there. We're just going to wrestle. We're just going to do some stuff and we're going to feel. It's my job to feel when they're ready to give him the go ahead to do the thing to me that we planned in the back. So it's all of these different elements of storytelling, the reactive, the proactive, and the active, I guess.
Crazy. And it's funny you mentioned that because we had just watched the WrestleMania 9 documentary on Peacock, which the name is
Sure.
escaping
Oh,
me.
becoming a
I
spectacle.
can't
Becoming a
wait to
Spectacle.
see it. I got to
Yeah.
check it out.
And not to spoil it, but there's one part where Lex Luger talks about his match
Does
with
Hogan win? Thank
and also don't bring that man up. Don't bring that
Hogan's
man
in
up.
every match. Yeah, apparently.
Got it. Got it.
I'm very sensitive about what happened with Hulk Hogan and Yokozuna. God rest his
Okay.
soul. And
So
I don't want
sorry.
to. Don't you bring Hulk? No, I'm just kidding.
It's your it's your
Um,
it's your first watch. I'm so sorry.
it's fine. Whatever. I forgive you. So, and now we're even. But Lex Luger talks about his match with Mr. Perfect and how he was saying I learned a very valuable lesson that day because Mr. Perfect was supposed to be the person like leading the match and he just had a moment where he completely blacked out and forgot what they were doing. And Lex Luger was like, I wasn't prepared to take the lead in that way because I was deferring to him. He had been wrestling longer, like it was supposed to be him and I just had to kind of like we had to work through it and there were some sloppy parts or whatever. He goes, but I learned a very valuable lesson that day to like I always have to be
Prepared.
prepared to lead even though I'm not meant to. Like just do you feel the
100%.
same way?
That's exactly the position that I was in with Deppen the other day.
Right.
If I'm and not for nothing, it was the position I was in with Swan as well in that match where we only had about 20. Like
Yeah.
we would called stuff more meticulously. We didn't put ourselves in a position where we had to improv. But even still, as a less experienced heel, Rich Swann was a cruiserweight champion of the world in WWE. He was TNA. He had just come off being the TNA world champion, and now
Insane.
he's trusting me to lead this 15, 20-minute title match between him and I. Why? I don't know, but that was my job, so I did the job.
Love
So
that.
this thing with Deppen where we didn't call anything and we just left a lot of room, it's like, all right, like that's a lot of pressure, but it's also the kind of pressure that I want, right? If I want to be the face of the franchise in reality and not just let it be a gimmick, then I have to know that every wrestler that gets in the ring can trust that I know what I'm doing and be able to do it.
Mm.
I have to make sure every promoter can trust me with any opponent that they choose. Any opponent that's willing to get in the ring with me, the promoter knows that I can handle it.
I love that. And do you, basic question, but do you prefer being a face or a heel?
I think it depends on the crowd.
Great
Like
answer.
I think I want to be what people are most open to receiving.
Mhm.
Um,
Mm.
when I am in the Bronx, the people don't want to boo me, so I
Right.
don't want them to.
Period.
But if we have to tell that story, I'll make it work. But again, you'll know what I want to be. They'll know what I want to be.
Mm.
In Maryland, I've conditioned this specific crowd to hate my guts because sometimes I show up and I kick women in the face, and sometimes I show up and I throw a guy like Griffin McCoy on his head.
Right.
Yeah.
They want to boo me. So even if I do this cool, big, over the top dive, and they say, "Wow, what a cool dive," and I'll say, "Yeah, I know," and then boo, and it goes
Right,
down.
right, right.
So I want to be in a position where, and it takes time and it takes equity with the crowd, and
Mm.
I want to be what the crowd, I guess, wants me to be.
Mm.
Love that. That's a great
That's how
answer.
I know I'll be at my best and do my best work.
Wow.
Um,
Great
s-
answer.
so you are one half of the Uptown Boys. Like, how is it like uh how do you find like being in a tag team like versus all of this like single stuff that you have done? Because it's a different like ball game per se, you know?
100%. First of all, let me just say, Maddie's my guy. I love
Yeah.
that dude.
Mm.
I love that dude. I don't know if you guys have had the chance to meet him or to speak with him, but what a just wholesome, likable, lovable man.
Mhm.
We have
Um,
not, but we would love to, Maddie, just for the record.
I'll make
We'll
sure
find
I'll
you.
make sure you get in touch. Yeah, so what's cool about being in a tag team with Matt is that we we get along really well. And I know a lot of tag teams that get along really well, and I know a lot of tag teams that argue all the time.
Mm.
Sometimes it reflects in their work on either way, and sometimes it doesn't, and they can do their job regardless of how they feel about each other, right? Um, my I guess psychological approach to tag team wrestling, it's still in development. Admittedly, I'm not a tag team wrestler. I'm not an experienced tag team wrestler. Matt and I have technically been tagging for 3 years, but we've only had maybe 9 or 8 tag matches together. Because as you said, my single stuff is my priority. It's a lot of my pursuit. But when tag team opportunities come around and me and Matt do the thing, or even if I'm tagging with Jay or Rich doing the Rapture thing, it's just not my wheelhouse. So oftentimes I will, defer to the tag team that we're wrestling against, or defer to, or at least not bump heads. Try to collect with Matt beforehand so that we have an approach that is like unified going
Mm.
in. I just had the conversation with him earlier. We have 2 tag matches back to back, actually, the 17th and the 25th. And so we got to cut these promos. So he texts me, he's like, "Oh, here's an idea for a promo, whatever." I'm like, "All right, cool. I'll write this one, you write that one. We'll get together and we'll go for it." And then when we get together, we'll also start thinking of some ideas that we want to put into those matches.
Mm.
Because it doesn't come as naturally to me.
Interesting. And do you find that, and I know this is a question I feel like posed to a lot of wrestlers in the independents right now, and it's their relationship with social media. Like, do you feel, I mean, I feel like it's an obvious answer, but like the way that social media has influenced how wrestlers are able to promote themselves, like what are your thoughts and feelings about that?
I think it's important, right? I think it's
Right.
important to promote yourself on social media. I think that because social media is so ubiquitous and it is so universally a part of everyday life, whether it
Mm-hmm.
be TikTok, Instagram, X, whatever your choice is. So it's important to use, but it's important to use efficiently. It's important to use effectively.
Mm.
So you're never going to see me hopping on any promotion, any platform and like start trashing somebody or
Mm.
start trashing a promotion or whatever.
Mm.
Uh, you want to conduct yourself professionally. You want to make sure that you present yourself not necessarily in gimmick or in character, but like aligned with who you want to be perceived as.
Right.
Mm.
Um, I
Yeah.
I will say, and this isn't something that I do often, but I am very I like to be very politically educated and
Mhm.
politically involved as best I can. So, when I see something that is atrocious to me or something that I perceive as just straight up evil, it's hard for me to keep my mouth shut, but I want to
Right.
be specific on how I speak on that and not just start spouting off, because there is a
Mm,
difference
Right.
between standing up for something, speaking on something versus ranting.
Right.
it's a great point.
And I think more wrestlers might, need a little bit of help on finding that difference.
The line.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially I think because if we're talking about pulling back the curtain, and I feel like wrestling, the name of the game, is always changing, especially like the way, now they're doing a lot of behind the scenes stuff. Like we're gonna get a writer's room show, which is
Yeah.
crazy. But I feel like social media, there's like such a line, and I wouldn't know because I'm not a wrestler and I probably never will be. Definitely never will be. But I feel like there is such a line you kind of have to play where it's like, yes, we know that there is a predetermined outcome, or, there's going to be certain things that take place, but also like there is still an element of this is entertainment. So you don't want things to be spoiled or like it quite to be, I don't want to say ruined for people because that feels very intense, but I feel like there is a line you kind of have to play with.
For sure. And you don't want to go and spout off every opinion that you have, and whether it be alienate a certain fan base or insult your fellow workers or other promoters or other, like, ruin opportunities that you might have for you. Like, you don't want to do any of that on social media, but that doesn't completely embargo you from being a real person and being a full
Right.
person.
Mm.
So it's definitely a balancing act at all times, and it's not just something that I talk about here. Like, I talk about this with, with family, with friends, with partners, with other wrestlers, whoever, where it's like, all right, like, I have this very strong feeling. Do I have to express it publicly? Yes or no? And then if I do feel like I absolutely have to express this publicly, how do I say it? How do I communicate it in a way that doesn't uh, reflect negatively on my character? Not character in
Mm.
wrestling, but my personal character.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Totally. Wow, crazy.
All right.
It's hard. It's hard sometimes.
Really.
People make mistakes. I've made mistakes. It's not easy to be uh, always making the right decision, whether it be on social media or otherwise, but you just try to keep your head on straight. You try not to uh, let all of the distractions take control. And yeah, I guess just try to conduct yourself decently online.
Yeah. I
Hey
mean,
man, PSA for everyone.
I was just gonna say that is like a
Yeah,
blanket
that's a
statement
PSA for everybody. Just
for
try to be decent.
everybody, who regardless. But oh God, like I really just think it is the craziest thing. Like you have so many things to worry about as a wrestler, like your physical body, like your interaction with other people, and then now also on top of that, you have social media, you have like all these other organizations. It is so
It's a
insane to
lot of
me.
juggling, right? And then pursuing opportunities for yourself because you're your own agent slash manager, but you're also
Right.
your travel agent. You're also oftentimes your gear designer, which means you have to go find a gear maker to make your stuff, but you got to get on the same page. You're your own personal trainer, your own dietitian, unless you can afford those things, which, good for you if you can.
Right.
It's a lot of and then on top of all of that, you're the performer, and behind all of that, you're a person with personal issues, personal life, job, relationships.
Right.
It's a lot of hats to wear, it's a lot of spinning plates, but the people who can manage all of that are the ones who succeed in this. And so all you can
Mm,
do is just try to do your best.
love
Love
that.
that. So on that note, what shows you have coming up? I know I'm going to talk about a little bit more about the anniversary 8. Where can the people find you uh online?
Let's plug, man. Yeah. Um, House of Glory is in Chicago this coming weekend, May 9th. You can see me there. Uh, what I got? Loud East Wrestling in Rockaway Beach, May 17th. You've got Shadow Wrestling Alliance and the Bree Combination Wrestling Combo on May 25th. 25th? You guys
Yes.
know, right?
Yeah, that's the
25th.
Yes.
one.
25th?
Yes, Matt and I have the tag team gauntlet match. That'll be cool. I've got Puerto Rican Weekend with House of Glory coming up June 7th.
I
I
just I just came across that. I was like, that should be fun.
Okay, so you are going to show up then, is what I'm hearing.
I'm definitely looking into it now. I actually like saved the information. I was going to send it to Kelsey.
You and amen. And
Fantastic.
is this the second one they're doing
This is
or?
this is the second ever show. I was on the first one. That was where I made my House of Glory debut, and I'm very excited to be back now as a functional member of that roster. So
Love that.
very cool.
Very
And
exciting.
that's the most pressing stuff I have coming up, most prevalent in the next few weeks. And you can find me on Instagram and X at the Jarett Diaz.
All right.
Well,
Well,
thank you
thank you.
so much for coming on the show. This was like such an honor. We are so grateful. I mean, you are so talented. You're so well spoken. You're so genuine, just nice and wonderful. And we are so,
Can I
so
keep you?
grateful.
Can I just
You
have you
certainly
in my
may.
back pocket and just tell me
Why do
things?
you think I've been friends with her for like 10 plus years? Like,
I like you
like
both. I'm keeping both of you.
Thank you.
this is
Well,
great.
somebody's gotta.
This was a
Somebody's
blast.
gotta.
Thank you guys for having me. This was really cool. You guys had great questions. It was clearly researched on, and I love that. You'd be surprised how many podcasters come in here and be like, "Who's your favorite wrestler?" Oh my God. Thank you guys again
It
for
is,
just
it is
coming correct.
I just
We
it
try.
is really my goal. I just am like, I just want wrestlers to be able to yap about themselves. Like I'm full support of yap. So I please like always
Yeah,
I
this
just
is a
want people to be
Gab
able to
household.
thank you. Oh my God, literally I will cry right now. That's just like the nicest thing. But thank you so much for joining us. I'm so excited to be able to meet you in person on May 25th. And Xavier, I'll alley-oop you to the outro
All
because
right.
you're way more efficient at it than me.
Thank you, thank you. All right, guys, this has been another episode of the New to Wrestling podcast After Dark. If you are in the New Jersey area on May 25th, make sure you come out to Anniversary 8, a Jurassic Celebration tribute to Vince Steele, where our guest today, Jarett Diaz, will be competing in a tag team gauntlet match, and you might see some friendly face. We will be there. You will see some friendly faces. So if you see us out there, come say hi. So for Kelsey and Jarett, I am Xavier, and we will catch you on the next one.
We'll see you there.
Bye.
Bye.
Cool.